Hello, it's Lou Collins. Today I've got a template for you. This is called a spring card template. Now this is a lovely card. It can fold away actually quite small and then it will spring open and you can choose to decorate any one of the panels. Now this template, just so you know, is a little bit different. Usually what we say is you score on the dotted lines and you cut on the solid lines, but this is actually the opposite. So we're going to be cutting on the dotted lines, scoring on the solid lines. But if you follow along with this video, then hopefully we'll all get it right together. So the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is spray my template onto my cardstock. So I've got craft cardstock here and I've got a repositionable spray adhesive. So with the repositionable spray adhesive, it just means that I can keep my template firmly in place, and then while I'm cutting and scoring, it's not going to be moving around. You don't have to do it this way, of course. You can, if you want to, either print directly onto your cardstock if your printer allows, or you can just use the measurements. You don't have to print this off at all. If you'd like to sort of try and construct your own using the template from online, you can do that as well. Either way, the template is free for you to download on Craftworld. So as I say, we are going to be cutting the dotted lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use my large scissors today rather than my trimmer because I've got lots of diagonals in here. And I'm just going to cut along the dotted line. So I'm not worried about this square here or this square here, or rather triangle, because they're dotted on all three corners, three edges. So I can cut around those and then along here. And then we're going to just dismiss this entire triangle completely as well. So we'll end up with this sort of almost an envelope shaped base that has the extra tab there. So that's the shape of our spring card template. Now, just in case you're wondering, I actually print mine out onto recycled paper at home now. We're sort of doing a big push at home to use recycled elements where we can. So you can print this onto any paper you like. It just means that the paper, my paper, is looking a little bit sort of that grey tone to it, that's all. Yours will print out completely sort of pink and white if you choose to use colour in your printer as well. So now I've got this stage, I need to now get my scoreboard out. And I'm going to be using, I've got my bone folder here somewhere, hiding under there. I'm just going to place this into the lines and score down those lines. Now I've got a bone folder that didn't actually come with this particular scoreboard. This one is the made to surprise bone folder that comes with the toolkit, but it all works in the same way. So just scoring those lines through the template. So I've got those two lines there, and then I usually, for diagonals, I tend to come along to the very last line there and score all the way down there. So by using the last line, I can clearly see whereabouts the top and the bottom are going. If I try to do it in the middle here, it's very difficult to see which line I'm actually using. So I do that and then turn it around and do the same on this edge too. There we go. So you should have your diagonal line scored and then your two parallel lines as well. So let's just pop the scoreboard out of the way and we can remove our repositionable template. I'll keep that aside because I like to use that to make my mats and layers as well. So what we're going to have is, when you look at this, let's look at it on the template so you can see here. So this full square here, that's going to be the base of our card. So if we have that facing us, and then what you want to do is just score and use your bone folder to really crease nicely each of those diagonals. There we go, and just press that down, make that a nice strong crease. And then you want to fold your card over, turn your card over and fold across the centre there. So this is going to be a mountain fold. So if we bring our card back, we've got our square panel facing us. We've got two valley folds as our crosses, and then the two side pieces are mountains. And if you just then lift these up, you'll see that your card is folding into itself. So if you do that, and then I'm just going to make sure this is all exactly where it should be, and just flatten everything down, make sure it's nice and tight. Now, one more score line we do have is this one across the top here. So I'm just going to fold that back. And that just means that when you've got your card popping up, so this will be flat in the envelope and you can have it like so, but as it pops up, you've got this little lip that rather than being sort of almost hidden like this, it springs back and you've got extra elements here. So we've got lots and lots of panels here now that we can be decorating, and that's got that sort of spring motion that just pops up as you open it. So now for the decoration, like I say, I'm going to be using this template, and I've also got some pattern paper. Now this is from Simply Made Crafts. It's the Special Day collection, which is a lovely wedding collection. So I'm going to be using this, and I'm going to actually decorate every panel. So it's going to take me just a few moments, but I'm going to now cut out, just by hand, I'm going to cut out each of these panels and then we'll glue them onto the base. So there's the lovely card base, nice matted and layered, using a Special Day from Simply Made Crafts. Next I want to add an embellishment, and I want that embellishment to be sat here so that when we get the pop-up action, it's stood up and it sort of makes the card a bit taller. So I'm going to use, I'm going to see if I can use this peacock from the Textures Peacock Plume Collection. Now the die within here, if I just pull the pieces out, the main die is quite large, so I need to have a look at this because it's actually going to be quite a bit larger than the card itself. So I need to decide whether I'm going to, if I'm going to put that on, if it's going to work, and also if I'm going to need a bigger envelope, which I'm obviously going to. Now, if you have the template like so, this is going to fit in a really nice small envelope. So you're looking at 3.5 by 3.5 inches. If I pop the peacock on there, this is actually going to make it much larger. So just thinking, if I pop the die cut in there, then my envelope is going to need to be more like 5 by 5, maybe even 5.5 by 5.5 inches, which is absolutely still doable. It's not a problem, but that will just mean that lovely peacock stands up proud on top of the card base. So I think I'm going to go with it anyway. So let's just get all of the dies out. I've got lots of other pieces of cardstock in here, peacock coloured cardstocks that I'm not going to use today because I'm going to use different colours. I've chosen to use a lovely gold for the background and then a navy blue, or I might do the other way around. I might do navy blue for the background actually, which is this solid piece. So this is going to be what forms the base of the peacock. So it's really this bit that you want to measure and make sure that you're happy that you've got an envelope, or you can make an envelope to fit your finished card. So really any embellishment can go onto this if you're happy with that overlapping as I'm going to have. If you need to, you might want to put a smaller embellishment on here that won't overlap. When it folds flat, it will just stay within the constraints of this area. So it's entirely up to you which way you go about it. I really like to make cards with elements that kind of overlap and make the card shape even more different than usual. So as I say, the first part is the base, navy blue. I was going to do this the other way around, but I changed my mind last minute and do the gold on top instead, because the gold looks amazing when the feathers are all fanned together. So there's the navy blue. Now the reason I've chosen navy blue is because within the outlines of all these beautiful florals in here, we've got a navy blue. So that's going to sit in there. Just make sure that will fold up still. There we go. So we'll have that excess peeking out. There. So let's glue that on now. That can be drying while I die cut the next pieces. So just on the base there. I don't want to go any further. Just check that I've got enough. Yeah, I think that's about right. Plenty of glue, because this is going to be moved around and you're only going to have the glue on this base part, so it needs to be really stable. So folding that down now, making sure that that is central and I'm happy with the position, which I am. Okay, so I can leave that to dry now. And what I then need to cut out is these three pieces. Now the beauty of this die is that you can cut just one, or you can cut two, or you can cut three. There's also some additional smaller dies as well with this, so if you really want to layer those feathers up, you can do. But I'm just going to do these 3 layers for now because that card's already quite bulky when it's folded. I don't want to add to that any further. So it's going to be a couple of die cuts to get all these pieces cut out. So now I have my peacock pieces cut out, all 3 layers, cut out from that lovely sort of satin mirror card. I'm just going to glue these, and you can glue the entire thing down here this time. You don't need to just glue the tail, but glue these down to the navy blue base. So using a fine tip applicator, and I'm using the glue from Creative range, which is available at Craft Stash. This has 2 applicators. It has a spreader at one end, and then it has the fine tip or finer tip at the other end. So I'm going to be using this one. Any glue, excess glue you get anywhere, that will dry completely clear, and it does dry really quite quickly, so you've got really good sticking power with this. So just pop those on like so, pressing that down all the way. And then for the next layers, I'm just going to glue the top of the feathers here, so really the top layer of the feathers, and put that onto the tail there, so start to get dimension building up, and then the same again. So this one also goes on the top, so just gluing that top element and layering them over the top again, like so. And you can fan those out now. Obviously they will need to be flattened down when you close the card, but hopefully what will happen is you'll have your card, it will come out of the envelope, and then you'll have that lovely pop-up that you can just see. You've got the feathers still, they've still got some dimension in them, so I'm happy with that, and that will all stand by itself. Beautiful. Okay, let me just tilt that up so you can see the effect that you're getting. Absolutely stunning. So that's all that's left to do, if you want to, is pop a sentiment onto the base here, or you can mat that with white, and then that can be where you handwrite a message, whichever you prefer. Yeah, and that's how you do the spring card. Now there's lots of different variations of this online that you'll see across the Craft World Inspiration Gallery, for example, but download your template from Craft World and have some fun with this. You can do different themes, different styles, different embellishments. This is my take on it using the Textures Peacock Plume die set. You'll find that available on Craft Stash. But yeah, we'd love to see what you make with this particular template over in the Inspiration Gallery on Craft World.